All right, let's get back to the biggest story in American soccer. Messi or not, Mauricio Pochettino officially introduced as U.S. men's national team manager Friday in New York City. The Argentine replacing Greg Berhalter, who, of course, was let go after the Copa America. Pochettino arrives with a serious resume. Chelsea, PSG, Spurs, just to name a few of the clubs that he has managed, as well as a serious price tag. Our Jeff Carlisle reporting in the neighborhood of $6 million per year. And one of the people who made it all happen and was able to pull off this incredible coup for U.S. Soccer joins us now. He is JT Batson, the CEO of the U.S. Soccer Federation. And JT, as I had mentioned before we came on air here, there is probably not another show that's been more critical of U.S. soccer than this one here on Futbol Americas. But Herc said it the other day, we got to give you your flowers when they're due. They are more than due now. So welcome, congratulations, and I'm sure you and everybody else over there at U.S. Soccer is absolutely flying right now. How are you feeling?
Feeling great and great to be here. And as I said ahead of time, if there's no feedback, we don't get better. So keep it coming, good, bad, or ugly.
Herc, I don't know if you know this, but back in the day, JT was a ref, so he's accustomed to getting yelled at a little bit. He's not scared of it.
My apologies then.
Yeah, we can be a lot more vocal, I think, from now on is the point there. All right, so there's been some
But one of you has to have the captain's armband now. So.
That's right. We got to delineate who can do it here. JT, there's been some great reporting around this story, of course, from our Jeff Carlisle, who I mentioned, but also from The Athletic. One of the interesting things that we saw in the article from The Athletic was this first meeting in Barcelona. Can you take us there? Can you kind of set the scene? And can you tell us some of the details that maybe made you think in that first meeting, all right, not only is this the guy, but there's a real possibility we can make this happen?
Absolutely. And when we started this process, we set our sights high and wanted to be ambitious with who we were going after. And part of that is you got to go meet people where they are. And it turns out Mauricio and Jesus were in Barcelona this summer because, hey, why not? And in that first meeting, it's been well reported that we showed up with a bottle of wine. It was a beautiful California cab. We wanted to go authentically American in that. And in that meeting, Matt had this idea that for any of these coaches that have a ton of different options, let's be as transparent as possible about the strengths and weaknesses of our program, of our team, where our opportunities are, what we think is going to lead to success. So we walked them through a pretty detailed presentation around, where we stand and where we think the opportunities and challenges are. And right as we finished, they pulled out their own laptop and walked us through their own view of where we stood, and with all sorts of research and analytics as to why they think there's an incredible player pool. There's obviously work to do, but there are big opportunities ahead. And that 2-hour meeting became a 5-hour meeting, and we both left there. And we finished with a confirmed meeting a couple days ahead of time back in Barcelona. We thought, okay, well, this wasn't a social visit. This is serious.
JT, Seb mentioned the reported $6 million annually for Pochettino. That would not only make him the highest paid U.S. men's national team coach in the history, but also one of, if not the highest paid international coach in the game today in world football. So I'm curious about the challenges of working out a deal like this. What were the biggest challenges you had to overcome to get this deal going?
Well, first of all, Mauricio and Jesus and his staff were under contract with Chelsea. So you, of course, had to navigate that. Also, there were a number of big jobs open or about to be open that Mauricio and team were linked to and there was outreach about. So you had quite a few obstacles to overcome. And of course, as you mentioned, this is a record investment for U.S. Soccer. Now, over the last couple of years, we've made a lot of record investments. So we've announced our national training center, first time ever. We did a record investment in our women's national team, bringing on Emma Hayes. So we've now got a track record of doing big things. And so that's certainly, aided the process here of everyone being super excited and supportive of this ambitious effort to bring on Mauricio and his staff.
JT, tell us a little bit about the ups and downs of the job, because that's what I'm curious about here. We talked about it on this show during the Copa America. I think it was after the defeat against Panama in Kansas City before the game against Uruguay. There were reports of fans kind of coming up to you and making their displeasure known vocally. We talked about it on the show. That's kind of real pressure, maybe something we hadn't really seen in this country before around this sport. You go from that to then within a couple months, Emma Hayes brings you a gold medal, which kind of checks the box on the women's national team program. And now you brought in Mauricio Pochettino. So can you describe kind of that back and forth that you feel working for the federation and kind of where you guys feel you are at right now overall?
Well, the reason why I joined U.S. Soccer and the reason why so many of us joined U.S. Soccer is we wanted to do big things for soccer in this country. We've obviously come a really long way. But we got a long way to go. And I think as a part of that, ultimately people are going to give you feedback with this. You guys, whether it's folks at barbecue joints in Kansas City or on airplanes or walking down the street in Manhattan or certainly over social media, we recognize that people have high expectations for our organization and for our teams, as they should, and they want to hold us accountable for doing a great job, as they should. And we want to live up to those high expectations, and that doesn't happen overnight. When 2 years ago we were an organization that was losing $40 billion a year. So we had some real work to do to put ourselves in a position to go do big things. But you also know that as a part of this and a part of going for it, you don't always get it right. And people will let you know that that's the case, but also it means you've got incredible support at your back, which is why we're able to pull off such incredible feats like building a national training center, getting Emma on board, and obviously the incredible work she's done so quickly, and bringing on Mauricio and his team. So, that's all a part of us going to do big things for U.S. soccer.
JT, there's been a reported release clause, if you will, here, a buyout clause from Mauricio Pochettino. And listen, if Manchester United tomorrow ended up needing a coach, he'd probably be one of the first names on that list. There are teams with deep pockets, leagues with deep pockets. Are you at all worried about Mauricio Pochettino being lured away from the U.S. men's national team job before the 2026 World Cup?
First and foremost, one of the key reasons why we spent so much time together in Barcelona was making sure that he had a full understanding of what he was signing up for, and that we felt that he was absolutely in it to win it. And I think was very apparent in the press conference and his interviews. This is a person who's up for it. This is a person who's excited, and this is a person who wants to make sure everyone else is excited with him. And so, a lot of our conversations were around what about post 26? And I think, to paraphrase Mauricio, hey, look, if we're not successful in 26, no one's going to want him around. And so, because to his term, that's football. And I think, but what attracted him to this role was, of course, 26 and this incredibly talented group of players, but is around having an impact more broadly. And that impact takes time. And so, there's certainly interest from both sides about a very long-term relationship, but hey, we got to be successful in 26 first.
JT, obviously, you want him to have an on-field impact. You want him to make this current batch of players perform better on the field. But I'm sure you didn't go out and spend all this money on this guy just for on-field, right? As you just mentioned, you kind of alluded to it there. You want some off-field impact as well. I'm sure you saw, you're the CEO, you're in charge of the business. I'm sure you saw the crowds at the friendlies during the last international window, and I'm sure that you saw some of the crowds at the Copa America around this team as well. What kind of early response are you getting from either fans or sponsors about this Pochettino? What kind of impact do you think that he's going to have on kind of that side of the business?
Well, when we announced we were making a change this summer post-Copa, I got calls from all sorts of stakeholders saying, hey, what can we do to help? We know that you guys have been ambitious in everything you've been doing over the last while in terms of putting U.S. soccer in the best position to be successful. And so we have your back. Let's go do this. Cindy was very declarative to Matt and me. Hey, go find the best possible coach to put ourselves in a position to succeed on and off the field. And so that's what we went to go do. Based on my inbox as well as my texts and my voicemails, as this has become official, everybody across the board's excited. People from all over the world, people I haven't heard from in years and years, from all over the world, excited about what we're doing. And, I think that's a great early sign. We're also seeing that in terms of our online metrics, in terms of website visits, in terms of people going to the ticket pages, in terms of people signing up for things. And so, across the board, there's, real interest. And ultimately for us, we know that a critical measure for success is going into 26. Does the American public believe? And then the test in the World Cup is, did we give them a good reason to believe? And I think that's what Mauricio embraces. And I think everyone's going to really feel that tangibly as we march forward.
See, JT, that was going to be my question, is how this process was different from the last go-around after the World Cup when you guys hired Greg Berhalter. What, if anything, did you learn from that you can draw conclusions to this hiring of Mauricio Pochettino?
Well, as I shared a little bit ago, U.S. soccer is in a materially different place than it was 2 years ago. We were an organization that had some real operational and financial things to figure out, and we've done that. And we put ourselves in a position of great strength. We've signed on board all sorts of great media and commercial partners, great sponsors. We've got great donors who've stepped up to help us do things We've announced our National Training Center, the Arthur M. Blank National Training Center. We've announced the Soccer Forward Foundation, all around making soccer more accessible and making sure it's the most played sport in our country. We, of course, brought Emma on board. You'd be surprised at the number of coaches on the men's side who are like, you got Emma? You guys must be have something good going on over there. And certainly those things built credibility for us to then go engage. And I think Matt's experience and reputation within Europe can't be underplayed in this. And that was viewed as certainly a reason why someone should take a call or take a meeting. And you add those things together, and we were in a materially different place than we were 2 years ago, and that's why you saw the candidate pool this time radically different than last time.
JT, obviously we don't get to this point without having to make the difficult decision of parting ways with Greg Berhalter. I'm curious if you can take us back to that time, kind of how close that call was for you guys, because it did take some time from the end of the tournament to the announcement, and then kind of what put it over the top for you.
Sure. Well, ultimately, this is a sporting decision, and Matt Crocker, our sporting director, drives that process. And, we very much wanted to make sure this was a thorough and deliberate process, and also that we respected the human side of this. Greg and his team and his family are great people who've done great things for U.S. soccer. And, we wanted to make sure that we went about this the right way. And we wanted to make sure that Matt had an opportunity to have a direct conversation with Greg and other key folks before any of this became public. And so I'm really proud of the way that we went through that process. I'm glad that we put people first in this, and ultimately, I think our continued effort to do that also makes it easier for us to hire people going forward, because they know that we treat people with respect and that we are thorough and methodical. And if you imagine we're going through this hiring process and you're a coach who saw us, go through, a rough patch in terms of the results in Copa for sure, and the way we went about that gives you a lot more comfort, and that this is a place where you want to come work versus someone that maybe handled things a little differently. And so we're proud of how we managed that process. And, of course, we're big fans of Greg's and hope he does and know he'll do exceedingly well going forward.
JT, the last regime, Greg Berhalter's regime in the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar, they put out a bar. They wanted to get out of the group phase, and that was where they wanted to be, and see what they can do after that. What would be success in the 2026 World Cup on U.S. soil for you guys, and what does Mauricio Pochettino think success would be for you?
Well, I think, as he shared at the press conference, that one of the first steps is making sure that our team believes they can go win it. And there's a question around, hey, what do you do first with your players? And the first was meet them. And you need to go see where they are and make sure that we meet folks where they are. But ultimately, our ambitions have to be high. I think if anything, this, last 2 years has taught me is that there are no reasons why, if we, don't really, put the effort in, why we can't go do huge things. And ultimately, huge things is win in major tournaments. And there's lots of work to do, and there are lots of challenges, and these things don't happen overnight. But, it starts with having a real plan and having real belief and putting yourselves in the position to be successful. And so that's what we got to go do. And I think, we have a sophisticated American soccer public who's going to know when they see it in terms of whether this is a team that who's earned that belief. And I know that it's a team that wants to go prove it.
Is that a situation, I'm sorry, Seb, where that sophisticated U.S. public would think, does this mean quarterfinals? Does this mean semifinal? What are you thinking here, JT?
Well, I mean, as you know, and you guys debate plenty on your show, which I enjoy being able to catch. Sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it doesn't, and so you can end up on a nice run playing like crap. You can also play really, really well, and things don't bounce your way. And so for me, it's all, and this applies to on and off the field. I want to be in a position where we wake up every morning. We know that we've got a plan, a God's honest plan that we believe can be successful. We've done the real hard thinking and digging and probing, and people asking questions, including yelling at us on this show or at barbecue joints in Kansas City. And did we put in the effort? And did we really go compete? And this is another thing I loved Mauricio talking about in the press conference is it's not just about playing, it's about competing. And it's about doing that in all facets of what we do at U.S. Soccer. And, we'll know it, and we should be our toughest critics on this stuff. And if we do that, if we put in the hard planning work and we do the hard work to go make it true, then I think we're going to be proud of how things land.
JT, I got one more question for you because you did kind of tease at it earlier in the interview. What comes after 2026? I know in the past you guys have used the word internally and externally, legacy around the men's national team manager role. Let's say things go well in 2026. Let's say it's a quarterfinal run or beyond. How confident are you? What are the chances that you think Pochettino might actually stick around based on the conversations that you've had?
I think there's real, genuine excitement about a long-term relationship on both sides, but this is early. I mean, we still have to fly down to Atlanta next weekend to go find a place for him to live. And so, and what I really appreciate about Mauricio and Jesus is they get the gig. They understand what the assignment is. We got to go be successful in 26, and we got to do everything we can to set up U.S. soccer for long-term success. But we can do all the long-term stuff we want, but if we don't get 26 right, and we don't figure out, how to make sure that we all work well together, then of course there isn't going to be a long-term partnership, which everyone wants, but we got to go make true.
Hey, JT, my last question here is, with no World Cup qualifying, it's really difficult for the host countries to get quality games. We're seeing Mexico go outside the box, and they're playing against club teams. They're going to play against Valencia and Puebla, which is a little out of the ordinary here. But what is U.S. soccer going to do to find the quality opposition to prepare themselves for the upcoming World Cup?
So, we want to be as aggressive as possible in putting our team in a position to be successful. I think, the flip side of that equation is any available window, everyone wants to come play in the U.S. because they want to get the experience here going into 26. And so while we haven't been able to announce it yet for various reasons, including people need to actually qualify for the World Cup, we do have a great lineup of some friendlies against some great teams rolling into 26 we're excited about. But again, to refer back to the press conference, every game is an important game. And part of the culture that Mauricio and staff, have said they want to ensure that we instill is that we treat every one of these games as critical as a part of the road in preparation for 26. So regardless of, whether or not we have qualifying, we have to focus on how are we preparing every day and putting ourselves in a position to be successful there and no excuses. And I think that's a mantra that we've tried to take more broadly at U.S. Soccer is, hey, there are all these reasons why everyone's talked about why U.S. men's national team can't go do stuff. Our country's too big, Europe this, whatever. And it's like, no, we actually have a lot of good things going for us. And so let's figure out how do we take those and, build on those and go figure out how we go do huge things. We know we've done it on the women's side. We've got to make sure that we've are embracing the positive strengths of the U.S. culture, of our resources, and all the great things we have going on our soccer country to set ourselves up to do big things on the men's side as well.
I think it's the American can-do attitude. Pochettino was kind of referencing it in his press conference, wasn't he? JT, man, great to have you here on Futbol Americas. I got a million other questions for you about a million other things, including the beloved U.S. Open Cup, but we'll save that for another time. Great to have you here on the show, and hopefully we can do it again soon.